This is the question. As per Dr. Verma, there is a little hope of his recovery now. Were you able to identify the error? And if you look at it, the context is talking more, it's expressing more, it's like almost they've lost hope that this person is going to recover, right? So as per Dr. Verma, the fact that, there's only little hope of his recovery now, and if you're paying attention, you know that the error is in part C, right? Why? Because the meaning, the context meaning is negative. How do we know that? Little hope, little hope of his recovery now, right? Which means there is not much. That's the meaning it's bringing, right? Not much hope. Which means I need to delete this indefinite article a, right? So little hope would be correct and not a little hope. Because when you say a little, it's almost like, nothing is completely lost. There is, if not too much, at least there is something, right? That's the meaning. A little has a little positive meaning, but when you say little, so if I say there is little money left, which means there's hardly any money left, right? We can't afford to spend lavishly or extravagantly. We need to watch our spending limit. Just to give you a random example. Yeah, so keep that in mind. So in the context, the error is in part C, where we remove that indefinite article a, because that gives a positive meaning, but whereas the context meaning is negative, implying that there is hardly or not much hope left of this person recovering. So that's why you delete the indefinite article a. Let's look at the next one. There were no less than 40 boys in the class when this happened. There were no less than 40 boys in the class when this happened. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds. That's all the time you get. Let's see if you're able to identify where the error is. Okay. So that was longer than I said I would give you. Let's look at this question. There were no less than 40 boys. There's a clue word in this phrase. Are you able to identify the clue word? The clue word is 40 boys, right? Which means we are referring to something that can be countable. And remember, when you're talking about something that is countable, what we need here is what? Not less, right? Because we know that less is usually or mostly used with uncountable nouns, right? Or singular mass nouns. So, for example, I can say, I don't say please put less salt. I mean, I say please put less salt. I don't say please put fewer salt, right? I can't count the salt. Or I can say, I have less money. I don't say I have fewer money. So when I'm talking about singular mass nouns, uncountable nouns like money, what can I say? Nouns like honesty, truth, love, right? So there is less truth in what you're saying. I don't say there is fewer truth in what you're saying. Are you following? So here, because we're talking about a countable factor, 40 boys, the right quantifier would be fewer, right? There were no fewer than 40 boys in the class. That's what we need. So let's make that change. So the error is in part A, right? Change less to fewer. Why? Because the clue is the 40 boys, which is a countable noun, right? Are you following? So just for example, I can say less salt, less money, less truth, yeah, less love, yeah. But I can't say fewer salt, fewer money, fewer truth, fewer love. Are you following? But what I can say is fewer, anything that is countable. Fewer cats, fewer people, fewer rupees, right? Anything that is countable. Fewer ingredients. Are you following? That's the difference between fewer and less. And here, because it's countable, so this is uncountable singular mass nouns and these are countable nouns. Okay. So far, the last two example sentences that we looked at is pertaining to quantifiers, right? I need the right quantifier. So many, much, fewer, less, a little, right? These are all quantifiers that tell me, refer to the subject, right? What is the subject? Is it countable or is it uncountable, right? What sort of a meaning is it bringing, right? Is it bringing a positive or a negative meaning? So I need to be familiar with these quantifiers and when to use what, so that I'm able to identify errors pertaining to quantifiers. The present day industrial trend is in the direction of automation and less people. The present day industrial trend is in the direction of automation and less people. Where do you think the error is? So you're saying in present days. Let's look at the context. Yeah, the context is very clearly saying what the present day trend is, right? So as far as construction goes, there's absolutely nothing wrong in it. I don't have to say in present days the industrial trend is in the direction of, not required. The present day industrial trend, which means what is currently happening right now, it brings in the same meaning. So I don't need to change that there, right? The present day situation or the present day crisis or the present day issue, right? You have sentences starting like that, which is focusing on what exactly is happening right now in these times. That's the meaning it's bringing in, right? So you don't have to change that. So the present day industrial trend is in the direction of automation, and my error in fact is in part D. Why so? Because I have people here, right? When will I use less? When I'm referring to something as a bulk or a mass. But when I'm talking about persons and things that can be counted like people, right, I will use fewer, not less. Okay, so the error is in part D. We need to replace less with fewer. What errors are these? These are errors pertaining to quantifiers, right? Something that quantifies, like a number, right? And in this context, we're talking about people here. So the present day industrial trend is in the direction of automation and fewer people, not less people. We will look at some more example sentences pertaining to errors that revolve around quantifier as an error type. Though you may not agree with the philosophy of Rajneesh, you must admit that he had tremendous influence over a great much followers. Where do you think the error is? So are you able to identify? Let's look at the context. Though you may not agree with the philosophy of Rajneesh, you must admit that he had tremendous influence over a great, again, we are looking at followers, right? Which means they are countable. And you don't use much, you use many. A great many is in fact a collocation, right? This phrase we've heard people say that. The error is in part D, where you change much to many, right? Because countable, how much money do you have? We don't say how many money do you have, right? But we do say how many rupees do you have. Why? Because I can count rupees, right? People always get confused. Money is uncountable, rupees is countable, hai na? Yeah. So whenever there is a quantifying where I can count, right? Many, fewer, and less and much is used for bulk. How much salt did you put? Right? Salt is uncountable. I don't say how many salt did you put. Incorrect. How much salt did you put in this dish, in this menu? Are you following? Yeah? Much, many, difference. So here we need many and not much. Again, this is an error pertaining to quantifier, right? Because of the recent strike in the mills, less men will be recruited in the coming season. This should be easy. Now that we have, just gone ahead and understood the difference between fewer, less, much, many. Where do you think the error is in this one? Yes. So basically, you change less to fewer, right? Fewer men. Why? Because we're talking about number. Anything that denotes number, you will use fewer. Yeah? Fewer men will be recruited. Yeah? So remember this, less will always denote amount or degree. Fewer will always denote number. Anything that can be counted. Let's look at this. They had to face many trouble during their journey to West Bengal. They had to face many trouble during their journey to West Bengal. Where do you think the error is? You say B. Why so? Well, you would be correct. The error is in part B. But what do we need to change? Here, trouble here is uncountable. Right? It's kind of tricky because trouble can be countable as well as uncountable. You can have more than one trouble. Troubles. Right? Plural noun number. In that case, it becomes countable. But in the context, and generally, trouble is an uncountable noun. So I can't use many, for uncountable. I have to use much. So I need to replace many with much. Yeah. So it's a tricky word, this trouble. Depending on the context meaning, it can either take up a countable or an uncountable meaning. Are you following? But generally, note that trouble is uncountable, right? For example, I can say, I have had nothing but trouble, right? In this context, it's uncountable. But the same trouble, I can also use it, it can also give the meaning of countable. For example, I can say, the troubles only seemed to get worse. Yeah, the troubles only seem to get worse. More than one trouble. So here, it comes across as a countable noun. I can count the number of troubles that this person went through. Are you following? Even if I say the trouble only seemed to get worse, it can still be counted as uncountable. So it takes up both that meaning. Yeah? The trouble only seemed to get worse, countable as well as uncountable. Just to give you an idea, but either ways, depending on the context, you have to figure out if, usually as a general standard, you can go with trouble being uncountable and use the correct quantifier before that. So in this context, they had to face much trouble during their journey to West Bengal.